Hello, I'm Mayeni Jones. Welcome to our second end-of-year special edition of Focus on Africa, looking back at some of the best work of our reporters over the last year. Coming up, we'll head to Nairobi, where a tasty new drug is helping children fight tuberculosis. We'll focus on agriculture and find out why more and more young people think farming is cool. And we'll bring you sports at the highest level.
Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is a variation of the sport brought to this country by its huge Japanese population. It's very popular here, and there's nothing these kids would love more than to see it as part of the Olympic Games. But for now, they'll have to settle with practicing in this academy. As for me, it's time to start my journey towards earning my black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Welcome to Focus on Africa's end-of-year special on BBC World News. First, let's head to Ethiopia, where anti-government protests were one of the dominant stories this year. In October, dozens of demonstrators were killed during a stampede at a religious festival in the Oromia region. Security forces denied accusation that they used excessive force, as Emmanuel Igunza reports.
A family mourning one of the victims of Sunday's deadly stampede. This is the funeral of Tesfaye Tadesse, a 32-year-old engineer and a new father. He was among dozens of people who were crushed to death when the annual Oromo cultural event turned to tragedy. His family is distraught.
What can I say? What is there to say? He left me saying he was going to look for the mother of his child. He did not tell me he was going to the Irecha festival. He died a sudden death. They just brought me his dead body. I wish it was me instead of him. My son is gone now.
Many are seeking answers. It's unclear what caused the stampede. Opposition activists claim it was police that fired tear gas into the crowd, causing thousands to scramble for safety, dozens trampled, and many more injured. The government insists the protest was pre-planned by rioters. It is still not known how many people lost their lives. Authorities say the death toll now stands at 55. Protesters claim the number is much higher.
Well, the deaths have left many people, and especially in Oromia region, very angry. We've had reports today of day-long running battles between demonstrators and police as they clashed in various parts of Oromia.
The country's prime minister has vowed to bring to justice those responsible for the deaths. He has also defended security officers who have been accused of using excessive force to quell months of protests. Demonstrators have expressed their anger in Oromia and Amhara over what they are calling political and economic marginalization. And as the country tries to come to terms with Sunday's events, some fear that the situation could get much worse. Emmanuel Igunza, BBC News, Addis Ababa.
Now, the deadly airport attack in Istanbul in June claimed the lives of 44 people. Among the victims was a Tunisian military doctor who had gone to Turkey to bring back his son, who had joined the so-called Islamic State. The BBC's Rana Jawad reports from Tunis.
An end to the life of a man who believed he would return to Tunis with his family for a new beginning. Brigadier Fathi Bayoud was a doctor at the military hospital in Tunis, a respected colleague and friend to those who knew him, and a tormented father who had spent nearly 3 months in Turkey trying to repatriate his only son, who had joined the so-called Islamic State. But as he waited for his wife's arrival from Tunisia to join him on his last mission, he was killed in this attack on Ataturk Airport. Turkish authorities believe that members of the so-called Islamic State carried out the suicide bombings and shootings. The Bayoud family spent much of their lives in this middle-class neighborhood of Tunis. Now, this country is still exporting more jihadists to Iraq and Syria than any other nation in the wider region. But Tunisia is not just contributing to the expansion of the so-called Islamic State, it is also a victim of it. 25-year-old Anwar Bayoud did not come from a poor family. He was highly educated and a quiet young man, but he joined IS in November.
Anwar, the son, told his father that my father, I realized that all this is a joke and it's a big lie. And if you have any way to help me, please do it.
As relatives and friends gathered to pay their respects to the brigadier and doctor, most were in shock at what they see as a cruel twist of fate.
The father went there to help and to assist, and miraculously he succeeded. Then one day he sent me a message in the telephone and he told me, now Anwar is in Turkey. He's in the hands of the Turkish military. Told him, first thing, did you see him? He said, no, I didn't see him, but it's not a problem. It doesn't bother me. I will see him later.
But for the happy father, later never came. Rana Jawad, BBC News, Tunis.
Nigeria's first family faced controversy last October after a very public marital spat. President Muhammadu Buhari responded to criticism from his wife by saying she belongs in his kitchen. The president was reacting to a BBC interview with Aisha Buhari in which she said she would not support her husband if he stood again unless he made changes to his government. We asked her what she felt President Buhari's government had achieved so far.
Well, every Nigerian knows what we inherited from the past government. We didn't inherit much from the government coffers and a poor security situation. But thank God, we now have a semblance of peace. No one is complaining about being attacked in their own homes. Thankfully, everyone can walk around freely, go to places of worship, etc. Even kids in Maiduguri have returned to schools. So you see, this is a great achievement, and nobody thought this was achievable less than 2 years into our tenure. The kids have gone back to school, and a lot of displaced people have gone back to their homes. We did have some complaints to that effect, but we are hopeful that some actions will be taken. For instance, there are those who felt they put in a lot to the Buhari campaign, but are not involved now in major decision making. I didn't expect us to experience these kinds of problems less than 2 years into government, since obviously Buhari was voted in by the people, over 15 million of them. So we shouldn't be having these kinds of issues. I think it's better if we all go back to the drawing board, maybe offer those few another area to work, which might not involve too many people. Every individual is different. You find that some people are not too keen on politics because they don't like its hassles. If people come to me and complain, I tell him what people are complaining about. But nonetheless, I know something will be done about it, God willing. Because the over 15 million people that voted him in will not allow the will of only a few to overpower theirs. Well, I can only give advice. Some of these people don't even have voters' cards, and they were not there during the campaign hassles. Hence, it's best if they leave people in peace. The revolt of 15 million people is not a simple thing to overlook. Remember, about 15 million of them voted him into power. So we have to tread carefully, because one can't lord over people just because today you have the power to do so. Even the President Buhari himself was placed in there by the people. Well, if he's the one making all the decisions, he has to reflect the will of the people, not his own, especially if his will cause a lot of distress to his people.
The world's first drug for treating tuberculosis in children was launched in September in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. Until then, children used medicine meant for adults, which was crushed and then dissolved in water. As BBC Africa's health correspondent Anne Soy reports, the new drug is tasty and easy to administer.
Mother of four Helen Chebet prepares a cocktail of drugs for her youngest child, Chelimo. The toddler has been on tuberculosis medication for 3 months now, as have older sister Chepkoech and their mother. This family of 6 lives in this single room at Majengo slum in Nairobi. It has no window or any other source of natural light. The conditions are conducive for the spread of infectious diseases like tuberculosis. Now all 3 have to take a combination of tablets every day for 6 months.
I tried putting the medicine in food, but the baby refused to take it. There were 6 tablets and one was particularly difficult to dissolve in water. I would crush it and add some glucose and water so that Chelimo could swallow it.
The drugs are manufactured for adults and have to be split and sweetened for children. Many caregivers find it difficult to adhere to treatment.
Because of the crushing and cutting of tablets that was required, the children will get inappropriate dosage that can lead to them getting drug-resistant tuberculosis because of missing of certain dosages of those drugs.
But this new pill for children could be a game changer. Dr. Cherie Scott shows how easy it is to prepare and administer.
These products could really help with child survival and really save the lives of kids. This tuberculosis is a curable disease, so it's wonderful to have something that is easy to administer, that helps caregivers, that helps health practitioners really deal with this issue in an efficient and a cost-effective way.
It is estimated that up to half of all adults have the bacteria that causes tuberculosis, but they only get to know that they're infected when their immunity falls. And so when you go into crowded places like public transport where there's congestion, there's a chance that you could get infected. So prevention is critical, but then also having treatment that works will go a long way to save lives. The new pill will be available across Kenya from this Saturday. Patients who are already on medication like Chelimo and Chepkoech will continue with the old treatment. At least 20 other countries are preparing to roll out the new treatment. Anne Soy, BBC News, Nairobi.
This is a special end-of-year review of Focus on Africa on BBC World News with me, Mayeni Jones. Stay with us because after the break, we'll be looking back at some of Kenya's What's Up Africa highlights from the last year. Welcome back to an end-of-year special edition of Focus on Africa on BBC World News. The daughter of Archbishop Desmond Tutu told the BBC she felt part of her had been stripped away when she was forced to relinquish the Anglican priesthood after marrying her female partner in December. Mfo Tutu Van Firth spoke to the BBC's Nomsa Maseko about falling in love and the pain of leaving the church.
I know that my marriage sounds like a coming out party, but quite frankly, I'm guessing that I fall more as bisexual on the spectrum than lesbian. Falling in love with Marceline was probably as much a surprise to me as to anyone else. I knew when I married Marceline that there was a chance that I would have to give up my license.
How has this affected your father? I mean, at some stage, he was once quoted saying he'd rather go to hell than pray to a homophobic God.
Yeah, I think it has saddened him as well. It has saddened him in as much as, you know, this is where the church is now. And yes, of course, you know, he's a father and, you know, I'm his child.
You've said that you hope that this will start a conversation within the Anglican Church.
What is so absolute that we cannot pass beyond this point? And the reality is that, you know, not only do we have gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual, you know, people of every description sitting in our pews. To be perfectly honest, we have all of those people are standing in our pulpits as well. And yet, very often, they sit in fear in the pews, and they stand in fear in the pulpits, because they're not free to fully own who they are and who they love.
I mean, from just listening to you now, it makes me think that then a part of who you are has been stripped away from you.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it feels like, and that, I think, is the anguish. Yeah.
That's where it hurts the most.
I have to think of all of the people for whom the choice was, I can be a priest or I can be with the person I love, and I don't get to have both.
So in the end, you did make a choice.
Yes, you always choose love. Always choose love. Everything else will fall into place somehow. When in doubt, just do the most loving thing.
In July, we ran a special series looking at the growing number of young Africans building careers in the farming industry. 34-year-old Dimakatso Nono Sekoto is one of them. Focus on Africa's Sophie Ikenye went to meet her on her farm in South Africa's Free State province.
A 3-hour drive from South Africa's biggest city, Johannesburg, and we finally arrive at a farm in Senekal in the Free State province. The first thing that catches my eye is a scene I'd not quite imagined. A young lady on a tractor doing the farm rounds with a driver. She is trendy and vibrant. 5 years ago, 34-year-old Dimakatso abandoned a lucrative career in the financial services industry in Johannesburg and became a farmer. She wanted a different adventure.
I decided, I wanted to do something more meaningful with the potential that I have, and I knew that if I came to assist my father, I would be able to actually make meaningful change, and that's why I decided to change.
It's not been easy. She's had to learn on the job, but she now manages over 2,000 acres of farmland owned by her father.
Now, across Africa, women have always been known to till the land, but young, female, commercial farmers are few and far between, but it appears things are beginning to change.
Dimakatso is so proud to be part of this change. She is hands-on and believes her efforts both in the field and in the office are now bearing fruit. There have been some notable successes.
Record keeping for me is number one, especially with regards to the cattle. At first, we weren't sure how it is that what animals are doing what, where they are on the fields, where are they going forward. So for me, it was important to ensure that every single day, every activity that we do is recorded.
But it's not all been rosy. The recent drought situation in South Africa severely impacted on the farm. They had no apple production because of the heat. They were not able to plant maize and sunflower because there was no rain. The losses were huge, and she had to let go of some of the farm workers. Like with many farmers across Africa, Dimakatso also has to deal with issues such as lack of appropriate finance and access to markets, expensive farm inputs, and other factors that are essential to her farm's productivity. But she still thinks
farming is cool.
And she has this advice for youth who want to successfully venture into farming.
Working on your own is really tough. And if you are very small and trying to access platforms such as, access to funding, access to markets, it's even tougher. I recommend that you join organized agricultural associations or commodity associations so that you're able to get direction as to where do you go and how do you actually interact with the agricultural sector.
Focus on Africa's Sophie Ikenye reporting there. Now in August, Focus on Africa was at the Rio Olympics along with thousands of the world's best athletes. But Peter Okoche decided that spectating was just too easy, so he bravely tried his hand at some rather unusual sports.
I'm at the iconic Copacabana beach in Rio, host city to the 31st Olympic Games. Now, over the next 18 or so days, 10,500 athletes from over 200 countries will be vying for medals in 28 sports. And which are the big ones? Football, of course, athletics, and boxing. The new and returning ones, rugby sevens and golf. But spare a thought for those sports that won't be represented here in Rio. Here are three of them. Now, squash had hoped it would be one of the sports picked for the 2016 Olympics, but it lost out to rugby sevens and golf. Unfortunately, some of the world's top golfers will be missing from Rio 2016. What a shame. And if you're sat there thinking, what a rubbish squash player I am, Horner here is Brazil's number 4 player. So go figure. Let's play. Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is a variation of the sport brought to this country by its huge Japanese population. It's very popular here, and there's nothing these kids would love more than to see it as part of the Olympic Games. But for now, they'll have to settle with practicing in this academy. As for me, it's time to start my journey towards earning my black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I'm at the Macombo Beach in Rio, a real surfer's haven, and the people in the water with me today will be glad to hear that the sport will be part of the Olympic Games in Tokyo in 4 years' time. As for me, it's time to catch the big wave. Or maybe not. By the way, Peter Okoche, BBC World News in Rio.
Now, we most recently saw him trying to get into FIFA headquarters as a super agent to the stars. And that man, Ikenna Azuike, has been in a number of guises this year. So let's take a quick look back at some of the stories the What's Up Africa team satirized in 2016.
To expose just how dangerous and immoral these people are.
Someone said I was possessed by the devil.
Are there more of you atheists?
Yes, we're a lot and we're growing.
Hello, Morocco!
Sir, we're in Malawi.
Hello, Malawi! Chief, oh, look at you! You're looking great! So tell me, how high are you going to build your wall to keep out the Mozambicans?
We are not building the wall.
I know you won't build it. The Mexicans will build it. Okay, today, you guys are going to learn to cheat like the best. Watch. Like, what if I came up here and I was like, no, Henry, why do I let go of your dick?
Bro, can you help me a second, please? Can you just wait 10 minutes? I'm in a hurry. How long will you hold it for, please? 5. I just need to dump 5 minutes. Can you give me 7 minutes? It's a long story. Okay, it's okay. I have some time.
Ikenna, you can't be serious. Now get up and mop.
Sorry, Nana.
Well, that's all from this special edition of Focus on Africa. You can follow us for the latest Africa stories on bbc.com/Africa and our social media platforms on Facebook and Twitter at BBC Africa. But from me, Maini Jones, and from the rest of the team, thank you very much for watching and goodbye.